Hello everyone, my name is Christian, welcome to my hobby blog. So today it is October 28th, it is day 28 of Spooktober. So again, I'm trying to keep it this final week, all hits, just a banger after another. And today I rewatched one of the creepiest, scariest, most disgusting movies. And that is 1986's David Cronenberg's The Fly, which I also got the box set from Scream Factory, so as everything falls out. I have seen this over and over throughout my life. I remember turning the channel one day and finding this movie when I was like 8, maybe 9 years old. And my God, there was a specific scene I remember watching where not Chris Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum, his character is Seth Brundle. He is teleporting a monkey from one pod to the next, and when he opens the door, the monkey is inside out, as in it got reversed and there's blood, guts, everything. You can even see the eyeball, and it's just, I remember I saw that and I was traumatized for years. And every time I heard just the word The Fly, or like hearing about that movie, I just always just am repulsed from it. But so it was years later that I finally got around to watching it, and I loved it. So, and I didn't know who David Cronenberg was. This was a David Cronenberg, or is a David Cronenberg production. He had read the script, which was written by somebody. It's not the original one, as far as I know, but I think it is actually by James Claville. So, okay, no, it's not. I just looked on these two, but yeah. So there was a script flown around. I listened to the audio commentary. I've been on a kick on that lately, but he found the script. He liked it, but he didn't really want to do it yet. He was kind of going back and forth on it. And then Mel Brooks, of all people, kind of pushed him into it. He really wanted to see it. He was a producer, I believe, throughout. But they basically worked together as a team to get this movie made. David Cronenberg talks about throughout the commentary how there were a bunch of little things that he kept having to fight people on in terms of story notes and all that. And so he always got his way in the end, thankfully, because he discusses all the changes that he wanted. And they were like, nah, that wouldn't work. We should do it like this. And finally, he was like, okay, let's do it. And he would show them the footage while also doing his original vision. And they were like, yeah, you're right. This is pretty awful, this thing we try to have you do. But I think what's really interesting is that one of the first things he says on the commentary track is that the only rewrite he did with the screenplay that he was looking at was that all he did was switch around kind of story arcs and so, and he also did all the dialogue. So there's a lot of that Cronenberg weird dialogue, and I just realized I haven't really described the movie yet, and this is very few people do not know this movie. This is a very famous movie, both the original and this one. They're both great. I really like the original one in terms of just the creep factor, because there's that scene where he uses the teleporter to teleport his cat, and you can hear it meowing, and he's like, oh, it must be in another dimension. And just like that whole idea, is that really one moment in the ending that is actually hilariously on the box art for this right there. Just that moment and the one with the cat. Those are the two like really creepy moments that just make me shiver. But this movie is just far more effective. I absolutely love this movie now. But the basic story is that there's a scientist who is going to create teleportation, basically, using physics. And he figures it out, but when it comes time to teleport himself, a fly flies into the pod that the teleportation happens, and it fuses the DNA together. The difference between the original and the new one is that DNA was barely even known about back then in terms of how it worked. And so all they did was switch around a couple body parts into flies, and then that was it. But with this movie, we watch him grow into a fly, into a brundle fly, as our main character describes it. But this movie is a lot more dramatic, in my opinion, because the thing I hate about the original one is that the entire movie is basically like, oh, women, they're so crazy, and like that's it. Like that's the entire movie, and finally someone is like, oh yeah, okay, you were telling the truth, but we're not gonna do anything about it. And in this movie, our main character, he is married to Gina Davis, who was Jeff Goldblum's wife at the time, and apparently they were so in sync with each other in terms of just being able to copy each other and mannerisms and speech and all that. So David Cronenberg talked about how throughout the filming of this, sometimes Gina Davis would just start talking like Jeff Goldblum. He's like, dude, like, you're doing the Jeff Goldblum voice, stop it. And so they would have to like reshoot scenes and stuff because of that, or shots. But yeah, the effects in this movie are absolutely sickening. It's all practical, no CGI. It's really interesting to hear him talk about the movie because he only has 3 characters throughout the entire movie, and that is the main character played by Jeff Goldblum. He's the physicist, basically. The other character is Gina Davis, who plays the love interest, who's also a reporter or journalist who's not investigating, but kind of keeping a log about his discoveries with teleportation. And then the final character is I don't know his name, but it's John Getz. He's a regular in David Cronenberg films, but he's like the ex-boyfriend of Gina Davis and also her boss, which, as David Cronenberg talks about in the movie, like, there would be so many issues now with that in terms of like sexual harassment and just the really iffy and bad things that can occur in that kind of situation where your boss is your ex. And so he says that's a really interesting lens to look through into the past, is looking at, you know, if he were to remake it now, he would do something different, he says. But there's like maybe a few other characters who appear once or twice, but it's really those 3, as he calls it, a triangle, not only a love triangle, but it's really just a triangle. You can really describe the movie as a triangle. It's the drama that occurs between these 3 characters. And watching that unfold throughout the movie, because the whole movie I'm always like, I hate the ex-boyfriend. He is so disgusting and just really, like, just suspicious. I don't like him. like at all. But this entire movie is definitely made in the screenwriting and the dialogue, because David Cronenberg talks about in the commentary track how he really needed a way to convey details throughout the movie. And so the thing that he immediately did that differs from the original is that he had our main character, who turns into a fly throughout the film, be able to speak as long as he can, because in the original one he just can't talk after like a scene, and it's like not as dramatic. He's speaking by typing on a typewriter, which is a little dramatic. There's definitely good scenes utilizing that, but in this one, it's really till the very end. He cannot talk anymore. Because a cool detail that he talked about is that he wanted the computer that was telling him the scientific diagnoses to be voice activated. And so whenever Jeff Goldblum would talk to the computer, it would respond and do what he wanted. And there's a point in the movie that says, like, oh, voice not recognized. Type in your commands. And he said that was, like, the big thing that he really wanted to do, is slowly watch as he transformed into a fly. And I really like that detail. That was something I never really noticed, and I didn't really think it was as big of a deal as it was, as David Cronenberg described it. But one thing that really sticks out to me this watch is that Jeff Goldblum is so physical as an actor. David Cronenberg talked about how he very rarely used body doubles, aside from the gymnast sequence, but half of it Jeff Goldblum did, and he's super strong. I mean, everyone memes really hard on Jurassic Park, which Jeff Goldblum also was in about 5 years later. And there's a part where he's like laying down shirtless and he's just breathing, and you can see his like beefcake look. And David Cronenberg talked about in one scene how Jeff Goldblum had to carry a woman up the stairs, like for multiple flights. And he said that anytime they had to restart, Jeff Goldblum would just be able to do it again and never got tired. So I definitely wish I was muscular and, well muscled, I guess, well physical as him, well toned, because he definitely has like that beefcake look. Not nowadays. He's much, he's an old man now. He's in his 60s. But yeah, just the cast is so incredible. These three hold the movie up really well, and the dialogue is just perfect. This is another 90-minute film by David Cronenberg, so the pacing is really well done. There's really not much else I want to talk about. I really love this movie. I've been really on a David Cronenberg kick. I've really been anticipating Daisuke's videos where he's going to go through David Cronenberg's works, and he still hasn't released Shivers, so here I am watching all of David Cronenberg's movies way before he's going to cover it. So by the time it comes out, I'll probably have to rewatch it again just to update myself on it. But this movie's just wonderful. It's a great Spooktober watch. I really like it. It's one of my favorite movies, maybe by him. But I did say the other day when I watched The Brood, it's, Videodrome. The Brood now is up there. This movie and Dead Zone are really my favorites. Definitely top 4 of those 4 movies. So I think that's it. We got 3 days left until Spooktober is over. So thank you all for watching.